My husband forced me to kiss his brother. I didn't know his brother had been dead for 4 years. It all began that night when my husband asked me to take some food to a lonely room in our house. No one has ever been to that room ever since we got married, and he had told me his younger brother was the last person who stayed there. Whenever I asked about his brother, he would fake a smile and give excuses. "Are you sure you're not interested in my younger brother?" He would always tease, but that wasn't what scared me. What truly frightened me was that each time I dropped food in that room, by the next day, the plate would be empty. At first, I thought maybe my husband was the one eating the food. So, one night, I locked our bedroom door and hid the key to make sure he wouldn't leave while I slept. The next morning, I woke up to find him still sleeping. The key was right where I kept it. That meant he didn't leave the room. Yet, when I went to check the food, it was gone again, only the plate was left. Confused, I decided to look around the room more carefully. That's when I noticed a small door in the corner. I took a few steps toward it, but before I could reach it, I heard my husband's voice behind me. "Hey, what are you looking for? Babe, just do what I asked you to do," he said firmly. I quietly walked out, but instead of following me, he shut the door and stayed inside. Something told me to eavesdrop. When I leaned closer, I heard him whisper, "I will fulfill my promise to you. Just hold a little." I didn't know who he was talking to or what promise he meant, but I convinced myself he was probably on the phone with a business partner. 2 weeks later, when I returned from the market, I saw a strange young man, probably in his early 20s, sitting in our living room. "Our wife, welcome. Let me help you," he said, rushing over to assist me. I froze. Before I could speak, my husband came out of the room and said, "That's my younger brother I've been telling you about." I wanted to doubt it, but the resemblance was clear. A few hours later, while I was recording myself cooking, I asked him to pass me the salt. He did, but strangely, he avoided being seen on camera. He told me to stretch my hand out to take it instead. I hesitated, but as I reached out, I saw something in the camera's reflection when he leaned closer. He wasn't showing in the camera at all. His hands, they didn't look like flesh. I could only see bones, like how an X-ray machine would show them. I blinked hard and rubbed my eyes, thinking maybe I was seeing things. But by the time I looked again, he had already moved away from where the camera could capture him. I asked him to come join me in the video, but he looked scared and refused. It was as if he was afraid of the camera itself. A few minutes after he left, my husband walked in and grabbed my phone off the tripod. "From today, you're not allowed to record any videos," he said coldly, and then handed me a small button phone in exchange for my iPhone. I stood there in shock, wondering why my husband would do that and what exactly I did wrong. Could it be that his brother complained about me? I chose not to confront him, because ever since his younger brother came around, my husband had been acting strange, angry, distant, and unpredictable. Later that evening, as I was about to take a shower, my husband stopped me and said something that froze me on the spot. "Where are you going?" he asked. "To bathe in our bathroom, of course," I replied, pointing towards it. "Well, you'll no longer be bathing in my bathroom. Go to Junior's room and bathe there." I just stood there, confused. Why would my husband ask me to bathe in his younger brother's bathroom? His brother was a grown man. We argued for a while, but it was clear he had made up his mind. He wanted me and his brother to share a bathroom. When I got to the younger brother's room, he was standing still, facing that same small door my husband had warned me not to open the other day. He didn't turn to look at me or say anything. He just stood there, mumbling words that sounded like a prayer, though I couldn't hear them clearly. I decided to ignore him, but just as I reached for the bathroom door, he turned suddenly and said, "You're not going in there without me." "Eh? What did you just say?" I asked, not sure I heard him right. "You're not going in without me," he repeated. "My room, my rules." Then he turned back again, facing the door. I didn't want to argue, so I went straight back to my husband to report what had happened. When I told him everything, his reply shocked me even more. "I have nothing to say," he said calmly. His room, his rules. I couldn't believe it. My own husband was telling me to bathe while his brother watched me. I couldn't let another man watch me bathe, all in the name of marriage. So I decided not to bathe that night. When I returned to our room to lie down, my husband quickly turned to me and said, "I hope you're not trying to climb this bed without bathing." "Honey, I can't let your brother watch me bathe. I'll just manage till tomorrow," I replied. "Well, if you're not bathing, then you're not sleeping in this room," he said firmly. I had no choice but to do as he said. When I got to his brother's room to bathe, I felt uneasy. "Open the bathroom, I'm ready," I said. He looked at me silently, then walked over to the door. Just before unlocking it, he turned back and said, "Do not say a word to anyone else." Then he handed me a bar of soap. I refused at first because I had mine, but he insisted, saying I either used his soap or left. As I walked into the bathroom, I quickly covered my nose. A strong, awful smell hit me. It was as though something had died in there. While I was bathing, I bent to pick something up, and that was when I saw it, something under the sink. It looked like a finger, like a human finger. I almost screamed, but swallowed it back. As I tried to move closer for a better look, his brother's voice came through the door. "Don't try anything you'll regret." My heart nearly stopped. I froze, then quietly finished bathing and went back to our room. When I got there, my husband smiled, hugged me, and we started kissing, but suddenly he stopped. "I can't just go to bed," he muttered, turning away. I was completely fed up with everything. So the next morning, I decided to call my husband's elder sister and tell her what had been happening. What she said made my blood run cold.